The Army recently released its fiscal year 2025 presidential budget request of $185.9 billion, detailing how the service intends to man, train, and equip the force into the future. The request includes approximately $3.9 billion for military construction, supporting 45 projects across the entire Army. That includes $2.4 billion for barracks restoration, construction, and sustainment, a 325% increase for barracks construction over last year's request. For the first time in recent history, the Army has funded 100% of the sustainment requirement. The Army is canceling several modernization programs and truncating some procurement across the future year's defense program. Still, it is not making those cuts to stay in line with congressionally mandated budget gaps, Army Undersecretary Gabe Camarillo said in a March 8th briefing with reporters at the Pentagon. The service made some very difficult trade-offs, particularly as we're trying to maintain pace with modernization, he said. We're trying to fully fund our military personnel account, he said, but at the same time, we wanted to make a significant investment in barracks and housing. So areas, for example, that we had to potentially look at are other areas of operations and maintenance spending that are not tied to readiness. People are obviously our top priority, he said. Secretary of the Army Christine Wormuth and the Army leaders have, for the last 2 years, really emphasized the need to have sustained investment in quality housing for our soldiers, both for families and individual soldiers in barracks. There is also money for barracks managers to ensure timely and proper maintenance. Here are a few other budgetary highlights. Quality of life. Overall, the FY 2025 budget funds the needs of our soldiers, with $70.7 billion in military personnel funding to account for all increases in basic pay, housing, and subsistence, Camarillo said. The Army is investing $900 million more in FY 2025 in its personnel account than FY 2024. The report outlines a 4.5% increase in basic pay for soldiers, a 3.9% increase in basic allowance for housing, and a 3.4% increase in basic subsistence allowance, which offsets the cost of a service member's food. The military construction budget includes funds for 3 child development centers, Fort George G. Meade, Army Garrison Wiesbaden, and Fort Liberty, and 1 youth center at the Supreme Headquarters of Allied Powers Europe in Belgium. The Army wants to expand its holistic health and fitness program by adding 15 brigades, bringing the total across the force to 71. The Army is also increasing its investment in behavioral health and financial resources for soldiers. Building positive command climates at scale is absolutely critical to us, Camarillo said. It is one of our top priorities. Continuing to acknowledge its recruiting challenges, the service plans on active duty end strength of 442,300 soldiers. In FY 2024, the Army requested funding for an active duty force of 452,000 troops. Army National Guard end strength will remain the same as in the service's FY 2024 budget request, a total of 325,000, and the Army Reserves will grow to 175,800, an increase of 1,000 reservists over FY 2024 budget request levels. The Army is increasing the marketing and advertising budget by 10%, up to $1.1 billion. The proposed budget has $675 million for recruiting incentives, including enlistment bonuses for critical skills and quick ship contracts, where recruits report to basic training within 30 days of enlistment. There is also $7.3 million in the budget for recruiter selection and training improvements as the service builds its dedicated recruiting workforce. We continue to work our way through the challenges with recruiting, Camarillo said. This budget submission will aid us significantly in our ongoing efforts to transform our recruiting enterprise from one that was set in the 20th century to one that will help us to recruit, identify, and attract the workforce that we're going to need well into the future. Integrated deterrence. Addressing aggression in the Pacific Ocean and across Europe is emphasized. The report marks $1.5 billion towards the Pacific Deterrence Initiative, with $461.4 million going to Operation Pathways, the operational approach to campaigning across the region. This includes a 200% increase in funds for exercises like Pacific Sentry, Talisman Sabre, and Garuda Shield. The budget request also includes $2.1 billion for the European Deterrence Initiative, $625 million for North Atlantic Treaty Organization support, and $395 million for the Patriot Advanced Capability Missile Segment Enhancement. The funds contribute to multilateral exercises with allied partners. The budget request reflects our steady commitment to building relationships with partners and allies in the region, Camarillo explained. Modernization. In addition to the Army's recent decision to cancel its future armed reconnaissance aircraft to invest in the current utility and cargo helicopter fleets and new unmanned aircraft systems, the service's FY 2025 budget will reflect the cancellation of another major priority program established 5 years ago when the Army overhauled its modernization enterprise and set out to build over 30 weapons systems and other capabilities. The Army has decided not to proceed with the Extended Range Cannon Artillery program, which used a service-developed 58 caliber gun tube mounted on the chassis of a BAE Systems-made Paladin integrated management howitzer. The budget request details funding for over 30 new or upgraded capabilities across 6 modernization portfolios. There is $1.2 billion for the Guided Multiple Launch Rocket System, $1.3 billion for continued investment in the Long-Range Hypersonic Weapons System, and $1.7 billion for M1 Abrams, XM-30, and M10 Booker ground vehicles. The FY 2025 budget request also details the Army's rebalancing of its aviation investments, how the service will accelerate innovation adoption, and more. This budget request meets the Army's commitments under the National Defense Strategy and the Secretary of Defense's priorities to defend the nation, take care of our people, and succeed through teamwork, Camarillo said.